Welcome to the Genealogy Radio Show, the radio show that's keeping you in the loop. And this week's show, we're looking all at historical mapping. And I'm going to be referring to some websites and some publications that will really help you with understanding historical mapping in relation to the Great Irish Famine. This is really important because when we do research at this time, we see the fractured landscape and the disintegration of the population and demographics from 1841 to 1851 especially, even though the effects of the population decline occurred a lot longer after that as well. But when we use historical mapping tools, we can really use some wonderful resources that are available free of charge in Ireland and available, whether you know it or not, through the universities and through university websites. So I'm concentrating firstly on what's available in Maynooth University and mapping resources. And this is Aero Research. So I will be doing a blog on this and plenty of links on it. But just if you typed in Aero Maynooth University.ie, you would get the mapping resources. It goes right up to modern times, so you can really have a look and see how they're manipulating the census and so on. But I'm picking in Aero census mapping, historical mapping and data visualizations. And for the sake of some research I'm doing at the moment, I'm looking at areas in County Limerick, and in particular Ardagh. That is the parish that I'm going to be referring to. Now, you have Limerick City and you have the County of Limerick. And you can have a look at the population change from 1841 to 2002 for Limerick. The historical mapping is absolutely superb and it really works really well. You can get into the population change 1841 to 2002 and then you go into view the historical mapping. I'm focusing on Limerick Irish Historical Mapping Tool. It tells me this page can't load Google Maps properly. This could be my browser. This might not be them at all. I will test it out on a few equipment and bits and pieces and see what's happening. And what happens when you're looking at the Limerick Irish Historical Mapping Tool, you get the map with the parishes, and these would be the civil parishes, not the Catholic parishes, which is really important. And they're listed on a legend, and you can click in the legend to see exactly what happens. So, for instance, in 1841, you have a population of 2,000, well, it's showing me 2002 there. But if I wanted to change the data, I can go down along. So Abbeyfield has a population of just 2,263 people in 2002. But if I click on 1841, I will see that Abbeyfield had actually a population of 1,694. And that would be in 1841. Then if I want to see what happened in 1851, I can see that that dropped to 1,526 and so on. But what I suppose is most useful in this historical mapping tool is I can see how different parishes are affected different ways through the legend, which are colour coded. So I know that I might have a population drop between 7,620 to 61,002, or it tells me that is the total population. But if I want to see the difference in population, I can do so as well, because I can see a percentage population change. And when I click on that, and I click on maybe a parish like Ardagh, I can see the parish of Ardagh come up, and I can see the total population in 1851, exactly what that is, and then I can have a look and see what that population is in 1841. And so that's really important. And I can see in Ardagh it's 2,248 in that's what it's telling me it is. And then in even if I was to go to 1861, I would be able to see that it's 1,569. And that's quite a savage drop in that. It's very significant that I can suddenly see a population disintegration at that time. But I can see density as well and percentage population change, things like that when I'm looking at Ardagh, and it's very telling as well. And I know that Ardagh particularly got hit savagely during the famine with quite a distinct drop in population at that time. That it's very telling how it was affected and so on. So these kind of things are really, really important when I'm looking at what's happening with population change and how it's badly affected. Ardagh, of course, would be very close to Newcastle, as it was known at that time, and that is not known as Newcastle West at that time. We had a show earlier on in the season where we were looking at it. So the Limerick Irish Historical Mapping tool is absolutely fantastic, because I can see what's happening as we're going up along and so on, and see, well, and the population drops even further. By 1871, it's down 1,472. It's a real drop indeed. And then by 1881, we'll see 1,376. It's a savage drop again. 1891, it's gone down to 1,151. In 1901, it's 1,012 people living in Ardagh Parish. 1911, it's gone down to 955. I mean, this is a population was over 2,000 people in 1841, and in less than 60 years, it has disintegrated. And that is really telling in the effects of the demographic distribution of rural life, even accounting for modernity. We're looking at a massive amount of emigration. And where did they go to? They went to the US, they went to Canada, they went to Australia, they went to New Zealand. So this mapping tool tells you what's happening in your parish at this time, and it's really, really important for you to know location. You can see, well, what's going on there and so on. So we have a difference west, north and so on, and we can have a look and see the information, more information when we're using it like that. We have the Aero research themes. We can have a look at the research themes, and there are community and social, environmental and energy, crime, historical mapping, and it is historical mapping that I'm most concerned with. You then get a list of the population of the different counties. So you have Antrim, Armagh, Carlow. You can look at the population change from 1841 to all the population change and so on. So we'll say I want to go on to Tyrone, for example. I particularly want to have a look at, and this is a great way just to find out your place names as well, like that you're looking for the actual, what's the parish next to this. You can use it as that kind of tool as well, even if you're not interested in the actual famine data. You can use it for just a listing of you can hover over the parishes and you can get the names of the parishes and so on. So you can match this to Griffith's valuation and find out exactly what's going on. So I'm looking for various different little places, and maybe they're not there for some reason. I have to kind of find out, well, what's going on here. I'm on a border region, so I'm looking for something in Tyrone, but it may be in evidence in one place but not in another. So that in itself is giving me a good clue here that a place I've looked for that I thought might be in a border region for this time is not it's not in the county I even thought it might be in. So I'm looking at a border region between Derry and County Tyrone. So I'm going to go back to Derry again and have a look at exactly what's happening here for where I'm looking and what, and I'll click on my view visualizations. I then get my historical mapping tools. I get my list of places: Ahadowie, Aginloo, Givey, Ardmore, Articlave, Banagher, so on. So I'm looking for a little place, but it's not on this either. So I may have to just locate it and be able to see exactly by going through the 1901 and 1911 census and so on where my places are. And it's a great way to be able to do that, and a great tool for that as well. So if I was to look at Derry and see what's happening, and I wanted to see, well, what was the percentage change, the population change in, we'll say, Lochanock, well, I could see that was very, very badly affected, if you like. And I could see that, I know by the colour of the legend, that it's really kind of got quite a significant drop, if you like. And I can click on my 1841 year, and then I know exactly what's going on. And I'm well able to look and see what's happening, and see that what my suburbs are, my bits and pieces, and play around with it so I can merge it and bits and pieces. It's one of the nicest little mapping tools, the Aero All Ireland Research Observatory, and it's done from Maynooth University. So well done, Maynooth. I know I'm going to have a lot of fun with this, and I'm delighted to be telling all our listeners about it today. Of course, we have another information from the Great Irish Famine Online, the Geography Department, University College Cork, and the Department of Culture, Heritage and the Gaeltacht. And of course I'm biased for UCC because I'm a part-time employee at University College Cork. So I do have a fondness for UCC as well. But today my interest is in showing you Irish Famine Online and the tools. So we've looked at an historical mapping tool from Maynooth. What can the Great Irish Famine Online tell us from UCC? Well, number one, without going online, we've got the Atlas of the Great Irish Famine, which is one of the greatest publications of all time. A book of 5 kg, and it's a must for your Christmas stocking, link and bits and pieces. It's one of the best resources around for a print version, an absolute must. For the introduction for the Geography Department, this is superbly done, and it's beautifully done. It's got the Great Irish Famine was one of the most tragic events in Irish history. The deaths of over 1 million people and the emigration of a further million had a profound and devastating effect on Irish society. The mapping of the famine at parish level provides us with new ways of seeing the famine by revealing the complex local and regional dimensions, which raises questions about the social conditions which prevailed in different localities and the diverse responses in terms of relief. Behind the maps are the stories of individuals and communities and how they fared during this traumatic period. So I really like this because it's got some wonderful tabs: population, families and housing, occupation and education. And this was done by ArcGIS and so on, but if you Google in the Great Irish Famine Online, you will find it. It's got a wonderful resource of showing you the first class house, the second class accommodation, the third class houses, the fourth class houses. And it's got a wonderful picture of Bunratty Castle and Folk Park for the second class house, which is very interesting because I bring a lot of people there and I'm very fond of it as a folk park and resource. And it's also got, interestingly, the fourth class house, which is, we don't see many pictures of those. And it's hard to visualize what caused the famine in such places. And the fourth class, absolutely kind of really, really difficult as such. So even when you click on the different places and so on, you can click and see what's happening. So first class, all houses of a better description. Third class, a better description of cottage still built of mud, but varying from 2 to 4 rooms with third windows. Second class, a good farmhouse, or in towns, a house in a small street having from 5 to 9 rooms. So the fourth class house comprised of mud cabins having only 1 room. And you can focus in on the fourth class house. According to the 1841 census, Ireland had over 1,300,000 houses. 490,000 of these were fourth-class houses. So a savage amount, single-room hut made of organic material. The lower end of the third-class house category were also mud huts. So these huts, when you think of our ancestors, these huts were made of organic material. They needed heat to keep them standing. When the occupants went hungry, they lost the energy to forage for fuel, sticks, turf and the like. The hut became then a death trap of disease and decay, finally collapsing down on its inhabitants. That is an unbelievable description, and absolutely it would strike fear in you as to what housing conditions were like in Ireland during the 19th century, and it's very little looked at. You're again able to do the type of rural and the percentage distribution of living in houses, so you can actually go through the country and see what type of housing people were living in, how you initialize it and so on, and click on the map and let it show you the map and loading the story and the bits and pieces. You have occupation, so you can see what's happening there, and you have education. And again, these are all very interesting ways of looking at the information that you are getting at the time as well. So that information is important when you're researching your Irish ancestry, because without it, you can't actually put the complexity of why so many people went, why women were going on their own, what was happening, so on, and why it happening. Now, I'm going to finish with the Atlas of the Great Irish Famine by Cork University Press, which was the winner of the Best Published Irish Book of 2012. They since have the Atlas of the Irish Revolution, and I believe another one is underway, and I'm looking forward to it so much. The Great Irish Famine, the potato famine, it was possibly the most pivotal experience in modern Irish history. So this wonderful publication really can tell you an awful lot about it. I know I wouldn't be without it. I really wouldn't, because the global reach and the implications cannot be overestimated. In terms of mortality, over 1 million people perished between 1845 and 1852, and at least 1 million fled the country, the great majority to North America, to Australia and to the British cities. Ireland had been afflicted by famine before, but this great famine was marked both by its absolute scale and longevity. It's better remembered because it was the most horrific and documented famine. The Atlas comprised over 50 individual chapters, and case studies provide readers with the broad sense of perspectives and relevant insights into this tragic event. So the Atlas begins by acknowledging the impossibility of representing the Great Famine, but it explores the themes of reconstruction, of pre-famine to modern day modes of remembering. So the use of 150 highly original computer-generated parish maps of population decline, social transformation and other key themes between 1841 and 1851 through the use of poetry, paintings and accounts really make this a must for you if you have ancestral connections who emigrated in the 19th century. It is available through Cork University Press, and the only problem you'll have is its weight, but they've got some superb shipping means of doing that if you're buying it from abroad, or even if you order it through your bookcase. Now, we covered today our Irish famine tools, which mapping tools are essential. I'm using them at the moment because I'm researching Ardagh and Tyrone at the moment and Mayo, of course. I have a fondness and love of Mayo as well at the moment. So these are my areas that I'm looking at. And I'm also looking at Tipperary and Galbally and Aherlow. And these are fascinating places for me to be able to contextualize, explain, disseminate and get the information out to people and make them understand just exactly what was going on in 19th century Ireland. So we podcast our shows. You'll be able to pick them up on Mixcloud. We air from Radio Corkabashkin, which is the radio show that's keeping you in the loop. There are many other wonderful shows through rcb.ie, and we air from beautiful Kilkee in County Clare. So in order to support these rural hinterlands, and I also air from Fecal Hub as well, so I'm very fond of Fecal, and we have a wonderful digital hub there, and it's great to be able to get the news out worldwide on everything we're doing. There was a bit of a delay on our online course. We're going to air actually in January, and I'm doing my best to maybe try to find sponsorship for that, to provide it free of charge, because that is my ethos, to get the information out free of charge wherever possible. So that's all for today, and thank you for listening.